How are you? Today's video is about sex determination. We shall discuss what determines how a person becomes male and how another person becomes female. And we're also going to discuss some of the problems that may arise because of a person being male or female in terms of genetics. We all have heard that there are more females than males in the world. But that may not be entirely true because there are some countries where there are more males than females, and there are countries that have more females than males. Normally, there is equal chance to give birth to a boy or a girl. But in real sense, more boys are born than girls, and that makes it complicated. But then, as these two genders mature to adulthood, the ratio of men decrease at a higher rate than that of female, and therefore in most places of the world there are more females than men because there is higher mortality rates in man than in a woman. So sex is determined by chromosomes, and in most organisms the classification of either of the sexes is normally given the term dioecious or monoecious. And dioecious is what we all have in common as a human race and in mammals, where we have sexes being on different individuals. That is where we have a female carrying ovaries and a man carrying testes. The sexes are two different individuals. Elsewhere, we have monoecious organisms in which the male and the female gametes are produced by one individual, for example in maize plant. And in animals or in all other organisms that have this nature, we would have heard of a term called hermaphrodites, organisms that produce both male and female gametes. They are very common organisms that have this particular nature of being hermaphrodites. They can be able to produce both, and one example is maize. So sex is a phenotype that is determined by genotypes, and these genotypes are commonly found in the chromosomes. So we have sex chromosomes, and these sex chromosomes at human level are only two. We have an X chromosome and a Y chromosome. A man will have one X chromosome and a Y chromosome, but a female will have one X chromosome and another X chromosome. In a human cell, there are 46 chromosomes in total, but two of them are sex chromosomes. So these particular chromosomes, the 44 ones, are called autosomes. There are 44 of them. So in a normal human being, there will be 46 of them. But problems may arise where you may find a human with even 47 chromosomes, and some have 49. And we are all going to see how this comes about. And according to this diagram drawn here, you can be able to notice that the X and Y chromosomes differ in structure. The Y chromosome is the one that determines a man. It is the one that determines the development of testes to produce testosterone hormone that determines maleness. Human males are termed to be heterogametic. Hetero means not similar. X is not the same as Y. So a man will have X and a Y chromosome, therefore they are heterogametic. And for the females, they are homogametic because they have two X chromosomes that are similar in size and in shape and in their genetic constitution. And in terms of inheritance, if you carry out a genetic cross of a man and that of a female, where a man produces X and Y chromosome, while a female produces X and X, there is equal chances of getting a baby boy or a baby girl. As you can see from here, we have these two girls and these two boys, meaning the ratio is 50:50. So every time there is reproduction, you can either get a boy or a girl. In some situations, this particular type of inheritance does not happen. And you may find that a certain person has one X chromosome and the other chromosome is absent. And this is a disorder. And when this happens, we say that there was non-disjunction. Non-disjunction is a failure of chromosomes to segregate. These particular chromosomes may fail to segregate and result to an offspring that is XO. The O just represents that there is no chromosome. At that point, that human will be having 45 chromosomes in total instead of 46. So in human, the sex determination is from the fashion of XX and XY. So in this particular section, and before we look at some of the syndromes that may arise, there are some organisms whose sex is determined by environment. There is a type of fish that when the male dies, it turns into a male even if it was female. So during inheritance, we have said that non-disjunction may arise and the particular chromosomes XX or XY may fail to segregate. They are normally together, and during inheritance they segregate into two. I will have X and X. So that segregation may fail to happen, and failure to happen will produce some humans which have extra set of chromosomes and those that do not have. You can imagine a person having extra chromosomes XXY. Another person may have XYY. Another one may have less chromosomes like XO. And all this comes about because of non-disjunction, failure of this particular set of homologous chromosomes to segregate during anaphase. And when this happens, there are three categories of people that may arise. And the first category of people are those that have a syndrome called Down's syndrome. This particular set of people, they will have an extra set of chromosome. They'll have 47 of them because there was failure of these chromosomes to segregate. And these particular people will be mentally retarded and they will have very weak muscles. So such a person with an extra set of chromosome will be said to be polyploidy. And this particular nature where there is a problem with inheritance or passing of an extra chromosome is normally damaging in human. The other kind of person that may arise are people with the Turner's syndrome. Turner syndrome are normally females and they have 45 chromosomes instead of the normal 46. These particular females are not able to produce ovaries, or in short, even their wombs or what we call the uterus may fail to develop fully. So these females are normally short and they have conditions. There'll be females that have a characteristic nature in terms of their size. And finally, we have the last syndrome that is called Klinefelter's syndrome. These are males, and these particular males, they have three extra or one extra set of chromosome. They will have the three of them. And as you can see, this particular male has female characteristics XX, and he also has the male characteristic XY. So these particular people will develop breasts. They can even develop some female characteristics because there is an X chromosome to do so, and there is also a male chromosome to produce male's characteristics. And in reality, these people are normally infertile and they may not realize that they have this particular condition. They are infertile, they do not develop their hormone cycle very well. And these particular people are thought to be mentally retarded, but in other cases, they may be normal and they may learn like any other particular person. There are other factors that determine sex in other animals, like the case of some organisms like the egg size. So in a particular case of this particular organism, the larger eggs produce females, the smaller eggs produce males. The other one is association with females. For example, in Bonellia, when the larvae of the seaworm are sexually undifferentiated, but when these larvae attach to the proboscis of female, then they'll become males. For example, if a larvae attaches to the proboscis is just simply mouth. When they attach to the mouth of a female, it will therefore become a male, and the vice versa is also true. The others are temperature, etc. We have a situation called sex-linked inheritance. Sex-linked inheritance is studied together in gene linkage, and in genetics, genes that are close together in a chromosome are normally inherited together. We do have genes that are found on the sex chromosomes and those that are found in autosomes. We have already realized that there are 44 autosomes, and then we have two sex chromosomes. We have those that are in the autosomes and those that are in sex chromosomes. So the sex chromosomes carrying a certain gene may determine some disorders in males or females, and these are called sex-linked characteristics. When they are located on the X chromosome, they are called X-linked, and the common ones are color blindness, hemophilia, and the color blindness we have things like baldness, some form of baldness, etc. If a characteristic is carried by the Y chromosome, it is called Y-linked inheritance. For example, the hairy ear in man. So these particular traits are either recessive and some may be dominant. And most men exhibit sex-linked traits than women, especially for the recessive. The examples of recessive are color blindness and also hemophilia. They are more common in men than in women. The reason being that a man has only one X chromosome while a female has two. For the females, most of them are normally carriers and they are able to pass that condition to their offsprings. So in the first case of color blindness is sex-linked and it is a recessive trait. A recessive trait can only express itself in its homozygous state in females. So these particular people who are colorblind are not able to differentiate between red, green, and blue because of the receptor in their eyes. The receptor are normally poorly developed. So to see how it works, if we have a normal female, they will not have any particular recessive gene on them. They are going to have a normal vision. But a carrier female is going to have the recessive trait on one of their chromosomes. And this particular recessive trait can be passed to the male. A normal male will have no the recessive trait, but the affected male will have the recessive trait on the X chromosome. This problem can come from the carrier female from this particular position, and then the affected female will have it in homozygous state where both of them are recessive. So this is a carrier and can transmit it to the future generations. So here is a diagram that describes that. The other trait is hemophilia. Hemophilia is also called breeder's disease and it is also caused by a recessive trait carried on the X chromosome. Again, meaning more female or more males will have it than females. It is located on the X chromosome and is normally inherited in the same fashion as that of the colorblind. Hemophilia is just a condition in which a person does not have the clotting factors of the blood. Normally, these people will bleed to death, and most boys are affected than girls. So in this particular explanation here, you can again see the normal female, both are capital, and the carrier female, one is small h, meaning it is recessive and they carry. A normal male will have it capital, or rather there will be no the hemophilia gene, but the affected male in this case will have the X chromosome and a small h on it, and then the affected female is going to have both of them. In short, we can say homozygous recessive, both of them being paired on the X chromosome. And then finally, there's a question that was tested last year about the tortoise shell cat, and that characteristics is normally sex-linked. So we do not think that the question may be repeated in the coming year, but if it is, you would be able to explain it using the normal fashion in which sex-linked traits are normally passed into their offsprings. And thank you.